What's up guys, my name is Ace, and with the Vanguard Alpha on PlayStation, you can currently pre-download that, and when you do this, there's a way that you can access all of the settings in the game, and these settings reveal quite a bit of information about the game. Now, if you wanted to do this for yourself, all you have to do is plug a keyboard into your PlayStation, and then when you're at the main menu, once you boot up the Alpha, you just have to hit F3 on the keyboard. This will open up the settings, and then you can navigate those settings with your controller. And before we get into this, I just wanted to mention that none of this is really set in stone for the final build of the game. This is based off an alpha. Some of this could just be sort of copied and pasted from Modern Warfare. It actually kind of looks like it is, and it may not absolutely represent what's in the game. In fact, there's actually one section that is really contradictory here, so it's likely that some of this will change at launch. But in either case, let's hop right into it and start off with the controller settings. I'm not really going to talk about the basic settings that we would just expect out of this game. Most of them are, like I said, copied and pasted from Modern Warfare 2019. But the first interesting thing that I noticed here is in the button layouts, it specifically mentions Scorestreaks selection. Not Killstreaks selection, but Scorestreaks selection. And to me, at least, this is really good news, assuming it's a traditional Scorestreak system, not the Cold War Scorestreak system, which doesn't actually really require streaks. This seems to imply that Vanguard will be using Scorestreaks instead of Killstreaks, but unfortunately, there is some contradictory information that we'll see a little bit later on in some other settings. In either case, most of these other settings are exactly the same, although I did want to mention the target assist modes. They did add one extra mode here, and this is the Legacy Black Ops aim assist. So it looks like we'll have the standard aim assist that you see in Warzone and Modern Warfare 2019. Then we've got precision and focusing, just like in Modern Warfare 2019. And then finally, we have Legacy, which is from Black Ops Cold War. It should be fairly similar to the default Vanguard aim assist, but it is just slightly different. Additionally, in these menus, just wanted to point out, we do have some in-game screenshots attached to these menus. You don't really get too much information from all of them, but it's just nice to point out a little bit more of the game that we've never really seen before until you get into these menus. Especially this image right here. When we're talking about sprinting, canceling, reload, the setting itself isn't exciting. It's more so the image here. You might notice on the top right of that image, it actually says range rules. And therefore, I believe this screenshot was taken in the firing range for Vanguard. Now, it is of course possible that it just happens to be a section of a map, but I do believe we are seeing our first look at the firing range with this image here. But the next thing I wanted to point out here is weapon mounting is confirmed to be returning here with these menus. We see an actual screenshot from Cold War. I know this is really no surprise to anybody since this is running on the Modern Warfare engine, and therefore a lot of the mechanics are likely to carry over, and weapon mounting is one of them. It's also worth noting that the blind fire mechanic that's been rumored, it isn't mentioned anywhere in any of these settings as far as I can tell, so that is a little bit interesting to see. But additionally, we also have sliding. Again, no surprise here, but just wanted to point that out. And tactical sprint, which we did see in the trailer for the Champion Hill Alpha. After that, though, I just wanted to point out the depth that we have now with these settings for our aim down sight sensitivity depending on the optic that we're using. Traditionally, we just have low zoom or high zoom. Now we have full control over every single zoom level, and I love this. I'm really, really happy to see this in Vanguard. I hope this setting doesn't go away for the full build and we actually see it continue, because that is way more control than we've ever had in Call of Duty. Additionally, we actually have dead zones for our L2 and R2 buttons on controllers, which again, we've never seen this in Call of Duty, to my knowledge at least, and I think this is excellent to see. After that, we do have our confirmation of doors, and we can actually change our door bash interaction. So you can set it to manual, so if you sprint into a door, it won't open that door and bash through it. Instead, you'll have to press square to open the door, or whatever your interact button is. Or you can just leave it automatic like it was in Modern Warfare 2019, where if you sprint into a door, it will just bash it open. So that's it for the controller settings. Now let's move on to the color customizations. We have full customization control over our heads-up display colors, which is excellent for colorblind people. Traditionally, we would just have like a few different options, a few different settings with preset colors in each of them, but now you can actually do it individually for each item on your heads-up display, which is great. And also an interesting setting here is your camera movement when there's some form of camera shake applied. Now, I'm not sure if this just means like your head bobbing while sprinting or tactical sprinting, or if it actually means the camera shake from explosions and stuff. But in either case, it is nice to see that we'll have a little bit of control over this. And of course, I'm going to want to turn that down as low as possible for the best gameplay experience. Now moving on to audio, there's not a whole lot to point out here aside from the fact that we have a setting called Killstreak music. Not Scorestreak music, but Killstreak music. And this is where it does contradict what we saw earlier when we were looking at the controller settings. So now I really don't know if it's going to be Killstreaks or Scorestreaks, or who knows, maybe we'll have the choice between the two. But also in this menu, we have confirmation of the flamethrower killstreak. And it looks like this is going to be kind of like the Juggernaut killstreak from Modern Warfare, where when you call this in, it's going to be playing some music in the background. But after that, we can change our minimap shape from circle to square, which I highly recommend doing because it gives you 27% extra area on your minimap, unless they make a change to that. So that's great to see as well. And now let's move into the keyboard and mouse settings. This is where a lot of people didn't dive into all of the depth and detail of this, but it does open up a few things that we didn't know about previously in Vanguard, or at least not for sure. The first interesting thing I noticed while going through these keyboard and mouse settings, most of them are pretty standard, but the first one I noticed here is the pinging system in-game will be returning with Vanguard. So you will be able to ping a location, or ping an item, or ping an enemy, which will give you a danger ping indicator, so you can do that in multiplayer, it looks like. Also, it looks like field upgrades are returning with this menu. Again, this isn't really a surprise for anybody keeping up with the leaks and stuff, but we're actually seeing basically confirmation of this in the menus now, so that's great to see there. Additionally, we have alternate fire modes, just like in Modern Warfare. I don't believe we saw this in Cold War, unless I'm just remembering incorrectly, but in Modern Warfare, at least with some weapons, you could turn them from full auto to semi-auto, or from burst to semi-auto, and it looks like we'll be able to do the same in World War II, at least with some of the weapons, probably not all of them though. Then I noticed we have killstreak slots. Again, they say killstreak instead of scorestreak, so it looks like more and more evidence pointing to killstreaks rather than scorestreaks, which I'm personally not a fan of, but again, maybe we'll have the option to choose or something. I'm not too sure at this point, but another interesting thing here is we have a 4th killstreak slot, so it looks like we'll have the ability to have a 4th killstreak. So it looks like this one's actually reserved for the care package killstreak, so if you get an extra killstreak out of a care package that doesn't fit in your first 3 slots, it will go into the 4th slot. And it looks like the killstreak wheel from Modern Warfare will also be returning. So instead of just tapping the button to call your streak in and being able to toggle through the streaks by pressing up and down on your D-pad, you have to actually hold a button on your D-pad to open up the killstreak wheel and then move over and select which killstreak you want to call in, and then you'll call it in. Which I personally am not the biggest fan of, but I get that they have limited buttons that they can use when it comes to the multiplayer experience on controller. So I kind of understand why they're doing it, I'm not the biggest fan of the killstreak wheel. Then I wanted to point out the loadout menu, which you can open up mid-game and presumably alter your loadouts, just like we can do in Modern Warfare as well as Cold War, so that is returning as well. I realize a lot of this stuff is stuff that's just returning, but it's worth mentioning because technically this is the first time we've seen a lot of these settings in a Sledgehammer Call of Duty game. Now, out of all of this, the one big setting that is currently missing that a lot of people are hoping for is the FoV slider on console. Keep in mind, this is on a PlayStation. I checked on both the PS5 version as well as the PS4 version of the game, and there was no FoV slider option, which does have people concerned, rightfully so. We've had an FoV slider for the past Call of Duty game in Cold War, so a lot of people were expecting that they would make their alterations with the engine or whatever needed to be altered for Vanguard so we could have an FoV slider, because it would feel kind of weird going back to not having an FoV slider again. But it's not showing up in the menus right now. I just wanted to remind you guys that in the Cold War Alpha, we also didn't have access to an FoV slider. That showed up in the beta build of the game. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case here as well. Maybe for the alpha, they just want things to be basic, and then they're going to be adding more settings like that down the road for the beta and or the full build of the game. But with that, that's pretty much it. Those are the interesting things that I found while going through these menus that seems to confirm several things that we weren't 100% clear on, or maybe had just been leaked but not officially confirmed at that point. Of course, I'd like to hear in the comment section below, what did you guys think about these settings and the various things that I found in the settings? Do you really like the looks of things so far, or are these settings actually making you a little bit worried about Vanguard? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.